Flosstube, welcome back to Snickerdoodlestitch. My name is Kathleen and this is a channel about cross stitch. If it's your first time here, thanks for visiting. Hopefully you'll find something here to inspire you. So let's see, it has been a busy week. Last weekend I was at Stitch, New Jersey, had an absolutely fantastic time. It's a smaller retreat with like 100 people, but I hit the jackpot again with my table, so that made it so much fun. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. The first thing I wanted to do was I had a giveaway for Brenda Gervais with the Needle and Thread Project Quarantine, and I have a winner for this. I drew the winner with the random picker right before this, and it is Crafty Mom. So Crafty Mom, hopefully you see this. I will put my email address in the description below this video. And if you can just email me if you're over 18. If you're not, get a parent to send me, or guardian. Just email me your name and address and I will get this out in the mail to you. So congratulations to Crafty Mom. I'm gonna do another giveaway. So at Stitch, New Jersey, I did the sewing bee. I did one of the strawberries. It was my first strawberry. I think I showed it here already. Hopefully I did, because I gave it away now, so I don't have it to show. And I had done the little pillow previously, and then decided, well, I was gonna use it for a smalls exchange for Stitch North, but they asked us not to bring things with walnut shells, and this was full of nothing but walnut shells. So now I've decided to keep it for myself. But I am going to give this pattern away. It doesn't have, the pattern came with this little heart button and this little yellow button up here. It doesn't have the buttons with the pattern, but any little button would work. And I'm going to include a piece of the twill tape that I used on my finishing here right at the bottom. So leave a comment and use the word sewing, and I will use the random picker 2 weeks from now, so that will be what, August 4th. So have your comments in by August 3rd, because sometime on August 4th I will film and we'll use the random picker to draw a name to send this to. And I will send outside of the country. These are small enough and light enough that I can do that. I did have somebody from outside the country leave a comment for Project Quarantine, and that's fine. So we'll give that one away too, now that I have stitched everything from that. Another follow-up comment. So someone asked a question, and I should back up. I apologize, I'm behind on answering comments. I do read them pretty regularly, but I haven't had a chance to respond to them. I haven't had much time for anything with going away the long weekend last weekend, and then it's been a little bit crazy this week with catching back up at work. I haven't been able to watch any Flosstubes, and last weekend I got all kinds of new Flosstube names, people I want to check out. But one comment that I saw, somebody asked, my last short video that I published while I was away showed how to pull a thread from linen so that you could square up a piece of fabric, either to figure out where your straight green was, to decide where to start stitching on your piece, or to find where your edges needed to be for your framing, for stretching it around the foam core. And somebody asked if it would work on Lugana, and it will work. It's a little trickier. Something with Lugana, I think it's a sizing that they put in the fabric, tends to want to fuse the fibers together sometimes. It seems to depend on the manufacturer and the color, and maybe to some extent the count, but I did test it on this. This is just a plain Zweigart tan Lugana, and it pulled out fine. I have done it on even weave before, I just wanted to do a random test before I confirmed that yes, it would work. So yes, you can do that same technique that I showed in my last video, how to get square framing. You can do that same technique on Lugana for the most part. So Stitch New Jersey, I lucked out because walking into the lobby at the hotel, and I was there about an hour before the doors opened, and unlike the other retreats that I've been to this year, people were not lined up, but there were lots of people congregating in the lobby, and I walked over and was just standing chatting with this lovely lady, Maureen, and she said, oh, well, I'm here only meeting a few friends, so we'll have room at our table. You're welcome to sit with us. And thank you so much for that, Maureen, because I ended up with a fantastic table. Chris and Jane, who are the Boss Stitchers, they're from Boston, and Tessa, who was Junebug Crafts, and Lily, Amanda, who is a Lazy Stitcher, and Jessie Marie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff, who is the creator of WhipGo and one of the original Flosstubers. So we had a lot of fun at our table. Lots of different stitching styles, generations. It just was a fun table. Everybody was very sweet and very welcoming and shared a lot of stitchy tips with each other. So it was a wonderful time. Tessa from Junebug Crafts gave us this little, it collapses so it could be mailed. This is a stamp set from a company called Lawn Fawn, and I actually have done paper arts and stamping for many, many years too. So I had a lot of fun sitting next to her talking about some of our stamping and stitching and overlap and different hobbies. And so she had one of these for us, and I love that. And it's mice. I mean, does it get any more me talking about sewing and having mice and stamping, and it's my bliss. She also gave us these little bags that she made, little zipper pouches, and they're just like a canvas bag, but she did the vinyl iron-on, and she's a terrible enabler because I have now ordered a heat press and some vinyl to try my hand at that because I needed another hobby. And then she had some stitchy goodies in here. You know, the little, I can't remember what these are called now, and we went through this at the table. What were they called? And we remembered. Now I don't remember again. They're like spool huggers that are designed to keep your thread from unraveling on the spool, but they work great for fabric. She's got a ring in here, and then we laughed at these little tongs. And she said these were for eating cheese curls so that you didn't get your fingers messy while you're stitching. We didn't have any cheese curls there, but those were funny. And there is a brand of cheese curls, which is actually my favorite snack. They're called Jacks. They're the puffy cheese kind, not Cheetos. They're kind of the fat cheese curl kind, and they're made by a fairly local snack food manufacturer, but they're my one guilty pleasure, and they're called Jacks, and my old cat was actually named Jacks after these cheese curls. So anyway, yeah, so that was from Tessa, and I had some floss tags from Jessie Marie, very cute. Someone at the table left, they actually had little like chocolate jelly jars with some lifesavers in there. I've eaten some of them, but that was cute and different idea. And I do make jelly occasionally, so I can use that jar. And I did get to meet Rory from Once Upon a Stitch, and when I was handing out I made needle minders for everybody that said Stitch NJ on them, and Rory had made like fabric covered buttons into needle minders, and I had debated doing those myself, but wasn't sure I had the patience to make 100 fabric covered buttons, and I don't know that she had 100, but she swapped that with me. So now I have a memento. Rory was very sweet in person. It was fun to meet her because I've watched her channel almost since I started watching YouTube, I think, or Flosstube. I think I stumbled across her pretty early in my Flosstube watching. And she has a pretty varied style of patterns that she does, everything from smalls to larges, samplers to more modern or cutesy kind of pieces. And she does all of her finishing herself, so she's a lot of fun to watch. And she's a very prolific stitcher, and she's high energy. It is fun to meet people in person though. She is like this big, she's the tiniest little thing, but very sweet. And what else do I have here? I've got some stickers. I'm not even sure who these were from. They were left at my seat when I was away shopping. That's a Floss tag from Gable Stitchers. So then the smalls exchange. I had the strawberry, and for this small we were asked to only bring the small wrapped and not include any other things with it, just to kind of keep it even for everybody so that somebody doesn't feel, you know, for the smalls exchanges you're never obligated to put anything with the small. But a lot of people do, and so they had decided we'll just keep it simple. We'll make sure that nobody feels left out, and it will just be the small. But when I was the second name called, I couldn't believe it. I was like almost next to last at StitchCon, and I spotted this bag on the table with the cat face, and so I was like, okay, if there's something cat themed in there, I'll be thrilled. And there was. So from Jessica Van Human, who is Stitches of Sass, she made the cutest biscornus. So now I have two biscornus that I got in smalls exchanges. And I'm feeling like I need to step up my game with what I make. So it does have little cats on it and says meow. And then it might be hard to tell, but these little bronze colored things on the edge, they are actually beaded paw prints. So those are little delicate beads. Oh, it does look like it's stitched and then beaded on top, but just so sweet. And yeah, I love this. I love this so much. And I really need to get back to my biscornus that I started at Stitching in the Wild and wasn't really having fun stitching on them and didn't get very far, but this has inspired me. So I love this. I couldn't be more thrilled. And then they gave us lots of tchotchkes when we checked in. Our bag had some flosses in it. We've got some Treenway silk samples and a couple weeks dye works. Actually, I think there's another one. Yeah. Some weeks dye works, and they're good. There's Oscar, a couple Oscars, roasted figs. They're good leaves or fall color there. There's a Krynic braid sample, but what I wanted to show you wasn't all this other stuff. Oh, there was a waxer, a beeswax waxer, and I actually do like waxers occasionally. But they gave us this pattern that was made just for Stitch New Jersey, and that was sort of the emblem, the kind of dogwood there, ring with the Stitch NJ. But they gave us the tin that the pattern would fit on. So if we stitch this up, and it was from Arlene, then it will fit on this tin, and this tin was full of goodies. So they've got all kinds of things in here. We've got the cute little needle minder with that same logo. There's some handmade pins. There's a Stitch New Jersey 2023 zipper pull scissor minder, whatever. There's a corner gauge in here, a little pair of scissors, threader, this teeny tiny magnetic pin cushion that looks like it's made in a bottle cap. So how clever is that? So it's a whole little travel stitchy kit. So I think I am gonna stitch probably the single color blue one and put it on here and actually use this for a little travel thing. I have a much smaller little tin I've been using. And then also in our bag was one of these project bags which says Stitch New Jersey on it, and it was all in this jumbo tote bag. So I'm actually headed next weekend to a scrapbook. I don't really scrapbook, but scrapbook conventions have a lot of overlap with stamping and some mixed media art, and so I'm going to a scrapbook convention next weekend. And I do like the bigger size totes because a lot of the papers are 12 by 12 for scrappers, even though I'm not scrapping with them. So that was stuff that they gave us when we checked in. And then last thing I'll talk about retreat, and then you'll have heard enough about me yakking about my retreat. They did raffle, so they were raising money for the local animal shelter, and people had donated, I think there was like 80 some prizes, and they each had like a bag. So you got your tickets, you got some in your bag. My table won a few extra tickets each through a door prize. That was our door prize. And then you could buy them, and it was raising money for the local, one of the local animal shelters, and we ended up raising over $3,000. So it was a lot of money, but there were a ton of prizes. So I put my name, I put some tags in some of the bags, and I won, actually won 3 things. I won an assortment of dinky dies, so really pretty colors. A couple of them are variegated, a couple of them are more solid, like the tan, and then that berry color on the edge are pretty much just solid, and that light blue in the middle. I mean, they have a little lightness to darkness, but they're not multiple colors in those ones. But yeah, it was 8 dinky dies. And then I put several of my tickets in for Weeks Dye Works, blue jeans linen, and they had 4 of these. Let's see if I can get it without the glare. They had 4 of these, and I actually won 2 of them. So I'm very excited with this. It's a blue color that I am drawn to and use over and over again. And it's 30 count, so it's a good practical count. Yeah. So I like felt like I hit the jackpot. Everybody at my table, I think, or almost everybody won. Amanda really wanted a candle basket that they were giving away, and she won the candle basket, and you would have thought that like she won a car. And Jane won, somebody had donated a queen size quilt that was beautiful, and Jane won the quilt. Jesse won a project roll. I can't remember what everybody won, but almost everybody at my table won something in the raffle drawing. So that made it fun. So stitching, got lots of stitching done, not as much as I could have, but a good bit. So the first thing, and I didn't work on this at Stitch New Jersey, but it's my project that's in the works. It's the stitch along for Primrose Cottage Stitches, Welcome to the North Pole, where we're doing a section each month. So we started in June, and July is the toy train, and then August we'll start on the snowmen here. But I finished July, so I was very happy with that. If I can get my bed back in. This is a fun stitch. The pattern is really well done. It's large. I mentioned that a couple of videos ago, where each of these sections is a full 2 pages in the pattern book. So it's very large. You don't have to do any enlargement or anything, even if you have difficulty seeing. It's nice and clear. It is colored pattern. But it's a good mix in this pattern of kind of blocks of solid colors, like, you know, a lot of red here, or this gray for the the base of the train or the red there, and then things that are color changes. So you don't feel like you're changing thread constantly, and you don't feel like you're stitching the same thing forever and ever and ever. It's just a nice mix of the two. So I'm having fun with that. This is on 32 count, fiber on a whim, oh no, 28 count, fiber on a whim, milk and honey. So I finished July. I had a schedule. So that will get set aside now. I'll pick it back up in August to work on the snowman. So I've got a week break. My goal with that one is to start it in the first week of the month and kind of get it out of the way early in the month. But that one I had stitched on before Stitch New Jersey. Then the next thing I worked on, or the first thing I worked on when I was at Stitch New Jersey, we started Thursday at 3, so we stitched from 3 to midnight, and there weren't any shops or any distractions open that first day, so I did get a lot of stitching done. It got less so as the days went on, and there were more things to distract me, or people that I was meeting and then talking to, or shopping, and yeah, shopping. Smalls exchange, yeah, there were more eating. It seemed like every time I turned around we were going out to eat. There were 2 restaurants, one attached to the hotel and one in the parking lot, so we didn't actually have to drive anywhere, but they were both a little slow. The wait staff was very friendly, wonderful, but just service was a little bit slow. So yeah, we going out for lunch and dinner ate up some blocks of time. But anyway, so Thursday when I got there, I worked on my Cricut Collection Bed and Bath 1, and I'm doing the piece at the top, this one, with the perfect ending with all the books stacked up there. And my plan for this one is, well, I'll show it and show what I did. So I've got a really big piece of fabric and it's up here on the top, and my plan is to frame this. I already have the frame. It will be a big rectangle, and I'm actually going to put a clockwork down here, so it will be a clock for my bathroom. My clock quit working, but I finished all of this darn white bathtub. That stupid white bathtub is like 1,700 stitches. I thought I was never going to get done. When I went, I was up here somewhere in this bubble. And there's actually, I was yakking and completely missed a bubble down here, but that's fine. Nobody would ever know if I didn't tell you. So my plan now is, I'm not sure. I'll go ahead and start working on the books, or there's a couple pedestal feet here. There's another one of these tile borders here at the bottom, and I may just make this my 2023, there's the tile at the bottom in the perfect ending. I may just make this my 2023 piece, the retreat piece, and if I can do the feet to get down to where the tiles are the next retreat, I could work on those tiles. Even the books might be, the books would be a little bit of counting, but not a lot. They're even kind of some blocks of solid color. So the whole thing makes a good retreat piece. But yeah, people walking by were like, oh, that's a lot of weight for that bathtub. Or I was determined to get it finished. So I worked on that Thursday night, and then really just, it was like 11:30, and I think I had like the bottom 2 or 3 rows left to do, and I just couldn't get them done before we closed up for the night. So on Friday I stitched on that, and then I shopped and ate, and then we did they called it the 3 in 3. So in 3 hours you started 3 projects. Some people modified it and just started 1. Some people just worked on 3 different projects in the 3 hours. I decided I would go ahead and try the start 3 projects in 3 hours. I've always been a little leery of that. I didn't do the 12 and 12 back at New Year's. I did work on 1 project for 12 hours, but I did not start multiple projects. So I thought, okay, I'll give this 3 and 3 a shot, and it's not for me. So I probably won't be doing that again. I just, in an hour, by the time you get yourself started, you don't have a lot of time and the hour's done. But I'll show you what I got done in the 3 and 3. A lot of people there were doing a stitch along for Christmas Tiny Town from Heart and Hand. They've got the whole Tiny Town series. I'll be honest, I have several of the Tiny Towns. I did not have the Christmas one, partly because it's sort of rustic colors. It's not what I tend toward. I tend to go for traditional, bright Christmas colors, true reds, that kind of thing. But since I got this on the freebie table and they were doing the stitch along, I was like, all right, I'll go ahead and stitch it. I'm not in love with it. I feel like my stitches look a mess. I think it's because I was rushing, because we only had an hour, but I got this done. I am not sure I'm gonna finish this piece. So what I may do, what I was stitching is this middle piece with the candy canes and the tree. So all I'm missing is the tree trunk and the candy cane on this side. And I may just go ahead and do that and make this into an ornament and call it a day. Like I said, I'm not loving the way it looks on this fabric. I'm not loving my stitching. I'm not even really loving the colors. So I got too many things that I want to stitch to really continue stitching something that I'm not in love with. Oh yeah, it may not have helped that this was the hoop I was using for it. This was on the freebie table, and one of the words of advice for us for the 3 on 3 was to have our first thread started beforehand and have it already in our Q-snaps or whatever. And I forgot my hoop for this, but this was on the freebie table, so I used that, which may have contributed to my stitches not looking the best. But so that was my first of my 3 and 3. My second, I love this one. I will be finishing. So this was, I had talked about doing this one at New Jersey because this actually mentions Cape May on it, and Cape May is in New Jersey. It's one of the beaches that's the closest to me. If I went to the New Jersey beaches instead of the Delaware beaches, but it's an Erica Michaels pattern called The Beach is Calling. This trolley up here says Cape May on it. You can't really see, but that's what the words are on the white bar there. And actually these beach houses down here, so Cape May is a Victorian beach town, and there are still Victorian beach houses there. It's a pretty cool little town at the southern tip of New Jersey. And I am doing this on Fabrics by Stephanie Chocolate Milk, which I got when I was at Stitching in the Wild. It's kind of a brown, which normally I would not be drawn to, but they had the trunk show with the sample stitched on this at Stitching in the Wild, and it looks like sand. So it's perfect for this piece, and this is how far I got. So it's just a running stitch around all of those boxes, and then I got a bunch of the letters done. And that's all the farther I got on this, but I love this one. I'm gonna keep stitching on this one this summer. I think it will go pretty quickly. You know, it was a lot of, like I said, kind of start and stop. I did work on this a little bit more after the 1 hour that we had in the 3 and 3, but I'm really liking it. I'm liking the way the stitches are lying. It is all with it's mostly Weeks Dye Works. There's a few classic color works. They're fun summery colors here. Sorry, it's kind of a disaster. It's been shoved in my bag. But yeah, this one is a lot of fun to stitch on. So that one I will definitely keep stitching on this summer. So the third one that I did in the 3 and 3 was the new Gobbletons from Aury TM, and I know this doesn't fit with the Jolly July, but Aury TM is Garon Stitchery's designer focus of the month, and I already had this in my stash. I bought it, the pattern and the fabric, at Galleria last year, so I decided I would go ahead and start this now, and I did. This one is also a lot of fun, but I'm probably going to stitch on this one more time this month, and then I'm going to set it aside until fall. But the fabric is actually printed, so the fabric has the big pumpkin. It actually framed up in the pattern. They have the top part cut off, so you actually have a nice chunk of fabric at the top with some leaves to do something else with if you didn't use the whole thing. But this is what I got done. I did not get all that done in the hour. I did work on this a little bit more again, and I do realize it's sort of all over the place, and I can explain why if I can hold this in the pattern at the same time. So I started here in the middle, so that's this down here. And then I had some green left from doing these little bits, so that's why we've got this green over here, which is right, it's this right here, these two diamonds, and then part of the fleur-de-lis looking thing there. But then I moved over the other direction, so I've started on these blue motifs. This is hard going backwards. One here and one right here, and then I've started into this and worked my way into the middle here with this this green. So once I can get into the middle, if I can do this green around, okay, if I can go the right direction, if I can do this green, then I'll be able to work off all the sides. I'm generally a single color stitcher, so if I'm working with a color, I will stitch as much in that color as I can without having to, you know, count halfway across the pattern or something crazy. So I'd really like to get to the middle of this, because then I can just work off of it from each side and do my single color stitching. But this is a lot of fun. I forgot, I really like stitching Quakers. They're very relaxing. I like the counting. It's counting, but there is a geometric pattern, so once you kind of catch on to what you're counting, it doesn't require quite as much thought as some counting might. Which does remind me, I did get to see somebody there, actually the person who got my small in the smalls exchange, the strawberry that I made, she was working on the Modern Folk Embroidery Winter Kaleidoscope that I got fed up with and set aside. And I did get to look at some folks stitching on that, stitching on some long dogs, some other things that are single color, full coverage, so that I could try and decide what direction I want to go with this floss and thread count. And she did warn me that there is a place on that where it's a zigzag border, and she said you're working along, and then she went to just see, okay, my zigzag that came all the way down, is it lining up with what it should be? And it wasn't. And when she looked at the pattern, there was a place where instead of doing the full zigzag, it kind of did a funny W shape, so it didn't come all the way down. And there was two places on each side where that happened. It must have been something just to make the count work out and be the least visually disruptive or jarring, or just to kind of mask that something had to be worked out in the pattern there to get all the counts to work. So I've got to remember to make a note on my pattern when I get to that, but I'm anxious to start on that now. So then the thing that I did work on a lot, which was not part of the 3-on-3, but was another start, because I apparently lost my mind with the starts the last weekend, was the first one of Country Cottage Needleworks Beach Boardwalk. And I had shown the Tabby Cat 36 count fabric that I had pulled for this one. And I went ahead, I actually got a lot stitched on this, and I forgot how much I love stitching with one thread, 1/2. So it's these really yummy classic Colorworks colors. Sorry, they've been, once everything gets thrown in the bag, they start to become a disaster. But yeah, they're really fun, summery colors, lots of blues, and I made pretty good progress on this one. There is a lot of stitching in these little buggers. They're pretty solid, but a lot of fun. So I'm going to continue with that. Yeah, I'm going to continue with that this month too. Well, or August. I keep saying this month, but in my head it's the end of July. So that was all of my stitching. I have some stash that I will show. Maybe I won't show everything. I did buy some fabric. So Grace Notes was there and had a table with lots of fabric. So I fell in love with Earl Grey. It is a really nice, it's kind of a grayish, greenish blue. It's a different color. You know, I love my blues, so they did only have this in 28 count. I didn't, the first day, when the vendor room first opened, they were mobbed. So I didn't even try looking at fabric until later, and they sold out of a lot of the 32 count and 36. I did get this in 36 count. This is called Molly, and it is just a really pretty, soft vanilla color, good neutral. And I love their fabric. In fact, they were talking to me a little bit about being so careful not to use hot water, you know, being just extra careful to prevent shrinkage or distortion of the fabric, and they definitely have that down pat. The fabric does feel, it's not, you know, some over dyes really feel overworked. They get very, very soft, and this, while flexible and everything, I mean, it is Zweigart, it hasn't become soft or gotten the some dyers, the fabric actually gets a little pilly, and that's not, their fabric doesn't have that. And then this was Passion, which is one of the few fabrics they have which is not named after one of their kids or family members. And it's a little more red, less berry in person. I mean, it is kind of, okay, no, it's better back here. It is a little bit, it is on the pink side. It's not quite as raspberry looking as it looks there. Although I noticed in one of my earlier videos, I was saying something didn't look like it does, and I'm almost wondering if it's the color on this TV that does something funny, because when I was editing, it did look the right color. So anyway, and the last one that I got was Sarah, and it's a pretty, it's kind of a spring sagey green, but again, really nice. So I bought these two thinking they might be good colors for Nightingale, the Mirabilia that I want to work on, but they're in 28 count, and I don't think I want to work on 28 count. The other thing I got in the vendor room, and hold on, I gotta remember who these are from. These are from So Pretty Pins, and it looks like maybe they're just on Facebook and Instagram, and in both places they're So Pretty Pins, but they had the cutest pins. So this one, that middle pin is an acorn. It's getting really bad glare, sorry. Let's see if I can get rid of that. Maybe. It's an acorn, And then this one, I can't resist anything with the little tomatoes. This was a tiny little tomato. It's probably about 3/4 of an inch tall, including the bead that's on top. And then that little tiny spool actually has some floss wrapped around it. Just really cute. The tomatoes out of polymer clay. But so cute. And then they had some made out of felt. So this is larger. This one's probably, I don't know, 1 inch tall, 1.5 inches wide, the tomato. But this one's felt, the same kind of concept. And then they had, I went a little crazy at their booth. They had these little they had pumpkins in different oranges, and they had these little acorns, and I just fell in love with them. These are felted too, really sweet. I'm trying to figure out if that's a real acorn top. I mean, it's a felted bottom, but it feels like a real acorn top maybe. Yeah, just such cute tiny details. I mean, little tiny bead here for the pumpkin stem, and this teeny tiny leaf, just really sweet. So that is So Pretty Pins. Let me see if it will show up if I hold it up. No, there we go. So Pretty Pins. I bought a few other things. Let me see where I'm at on time. I'll show just a few more of the things that I bought. Needleworkers Delight was there, and so I bought a few patterns and some fabric from them. This is actually Ada. They had a big stack of Ada cut this size. And these were just really very different blues. Kind of moody. This one almost looks a little like grungy. And then this one's a little purpley. But I thought they were the perfect blues for a Halloween piece, and I bought a couple Halloween patterns. So this is La Di Da, Pumpkin Parade, and it will fit on one of these. I'm thinking of doing it on this kind of moody blue. Yeah. Anything with pumpkins, blue and orange are complementary colors, and by complementary I mean they're across the color wheel from each other. So they are colors that will always be pleasing to the eye if you did something in the blue family with something in the orange family. So actually all of the holidays are in complementary colors. So Christmas, the red and green, Easter, the purple and yellow, Halloween, the blue and orange. It's kind of funny that all of the holidays, what we think of in our heads as kind of the traditional colors for them, at least here in the US, are colors that are across the color wheel. And anytime you go with complementary colors across the color wheel, it is somehow pleasing and restful for the eye. So just as a color theory tip. They did have a Summer Breeze. It was a fabric that they dyed just for Stitch New Jersey. And so Needleworkers Delight used to sell hand-dyed fabrics under the Dreamweavers label, and now they are labeling them hand dyes by Jim. But this is just some really nice subtle, it's multiple pastels in there. I mean, there's pink, there's blue, there's yellow. It's kind of just a sherbet of colors, but it's very pale. And I want to do Princess Eliana, the Mirabilia, with all of the new newer DMC colors, and I think she would look really good on this. She's got a lot of colors in that dress, so that was what I was thinking when I bought this. If not, something else will go on it. And then I bought a few other patterns. So this one is from sorry, I'm distracted because it's got her full name and it's Rumi's Creations. But it says Moo-ve, that needle baby. I really just want the cow on here. So my sister-in-law likes cows, although my brother would prefer not to have more cows. But I want that little cow to do a Christmas ornament for. I haven't found a cow Christmas ornament, so I'm going to do something with that for her. And then I'm getting way disorganized here. This was from MingiuStitch, and what is this called? Boo. It's another Halloween piece. They had this stitched up there. So I saw the sample that was stitched in this, and that's what led me to buying this one. I did not need another Halloween pattern. I will warn though, and I will warn anytime I see this designer. Be careful doing just a Google search for MingiuStitch, because something bizarre comes up. Some adult entertainment, some like foreign adult entertainment. I don't know. It was like some kind of Asian porn or something came up when I tried stitching this or searching this. Actually, I don't think I tried searching it. I think I typed in MingiuStitch.com and that's what came up. So just be careful searching for that name, or be warned that you might want to clear your browser history after searching for it if weird things come up. Maybe just search for it in like 123stitch or something like that. They've got beautiful patterns. So I don't know what was up with that. And then the retreat was hosted by Arlene who works by ABC, and she has these beautiful, I wanted this pattern. I've seen this pattern before, and I think Rory gave it away on Once Upon a Stitch. I saw it a couple places. And then there was a trunk show of Works by ABC at StitchCon, but I knew I was going to be at Stitch New Jersey, which was hosted by Arlene, who is Works by ABC. So I waited to buy it from her, but this is one that she released just this year, I think, at Market. It's called Exquisite Lace, and it is gorgeous. And it's single color. I mean, it would look beautiful on any solid color contrasting fabric, either light on dark like this, or even dark on a light colored fabric. I'm going to do it light on dark, but I'm not sure what color yet. So this one is fairly large. They stitched this on 36 count. On 36 count, it is just a little bit over 11 by 18. So it's 205 by 331. It's not ginormous, but it's not small either. And she said some people had asked for smaller, that they loved it, but they just wouldn't do anything that big. So she had another pattern there, and this on 14 count is only 5 by 8, a little bit over. It's 71 by 115, but it's the same kind of concept, just much smaller. But it was beautiful, stitched in person as well. So I got this one too to have for probably a small travel project. It would be nice to have as a travel project because it's only, you know, it's a single color of thread. She says it's based off an actual piece of lace. That's interesting. Some is stitched with 1, 2, and 3 strands. So see how it looks kind of, see how some sections are darker or lighter? She's gotten that effect by using different numbers of strands in the stitching, which is genius. So it makes it look like there's different colors when really, or thicknesses, and really it's just different numbers of strands. So that's interesting. And she has it charted. for different symbols for 1, 2, and 3 strands. This one I believe is all just doesn't use that technique on this big one. I don't remember noticing that anyway. So there was one other pattern that I bought, and I had something in mind, and I'm not really sure it's going to work as planned, but this is from New York Dreamer Needleworks, and it's tea, a hug, and a cup. And in my head, I knew that I had a wooden piece at home that I had bought at, I don't know, a thrift store. I think it was an antique store, maybe when I was antiquing up through Pennsylvania earlier this year. And in my head, it was some kind of teapot, but I couldn't really remember it exactly. And I thought, it's that shape though, and I can deal with the count either using a larger or smaller count fabric to make it fit. But then when I got home and pulled my piece out, my piece is not really a teacup size, shape or size, but I think it's still gonna work. I'm probably still gonna do it in this. My plan is to take this stitch piece out, which is really a frame, because this has been a shame because it's been framed by a framer. But I am gonna tear this apart, and I'm gonna spray paint this, I think, so that it's not this speckled blue. I'll probably wait until I stitch my piece and then decide what I'm going to do about the color. But I think I may still, I mean, it's still a kitchen piece, right? It is cute in this teacup, which they did have that wooden piece there that this goes on. But in my head, I was like, oh, I'm going to buy that and put it on the tea thing I have at home. And this is not tea-shaped. But it is kitchen related. I don't know. We'll see. So that was everything from Stitch, New Jersey. My only other excitement there, I'm looking to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. I was on the top floor and the roof started leaking. So Friday morning, I woke up, and just as I was waking up, I started hearing this noise, and I got out of bed and realized that the ceiling was dripping right between the bed and the TV and dresser that was in front of it. So I let them know at the front desk, and then I went ahead and got ready, and the rain stopped and the dripping stopped. So I let them know at the front desk, okay, it was the roof leaking, it stopped, so nothing urgent. Well, Saturday it poured all day. It wasn't first thing in the morning though. So I'm in the room stitching, and somebody came in and said it's pouring outside. And I said, oh, I better go check and make sure that my ceiling isn't leaking again. I get up to my room, it is steady leaking. I had left the trash can there. So it was dripping into that. But I go down to the desk and I tell them, look, my ceiling is leaking badly. You've got a roof leak. And he said, okay, I'll send a maintenance person up. And I said, okay, if they can't get it to, if they can't figure something out, which I really didn't think they could, because it was a roof leaking. Anybody that's had a leaky roof knows there's not a darn thing you can do with it in the middle of the rain like that. So he said they were sold out. But then he pulled up my record and said, okay, if you can't do anything, I do have another room I can put you in. Which thankfully, I typically do my work travel in the same hotel chain. So I have a status with them that they know that I stay with them quite frequently. Well, the maintenance guy showed up and took one look, and he's like, oh no, I can't do anything with that. I'm like, yeah, I figured. So anyway, the hotel was fantastic with it. They got me in a new room. The manager brought up the keys for the other room and helped me move my stuff, and that all got sorted out. So the hotel staff there was so friendly and really just fantastic. So kudos to them. I had stayed at that hotel before, not for this event, but there's actually another fairly large convention center nearby, and I went to a convention there last year, and this was the hotel that I stayed at. I didn't even realize it till I was pulling into the parking lot last week, and I'm like, this looks really familiar. And then I realized I was at this hotel before. Anyway, enough of me rambling about the hotel. It was a fantastic week. I had fantastic table mates, met so many nice, friendly people who shared so many stitchy tips that, you know, I learned so much last weekend. So encourage everybody to try a retreat at some time, especially one of the, I don't want to say small because 100 people is not small, but you know, the ones like StitchCon, Stitch New England, some of those, they're 300 plus people. And there's definitely a different, you get different things out of it. It's a different experience. Anyway, I will likely have a video next week, although I'm going to be away next weekend. So we shall see. I've got to get a bunch of yard work done this weekend and some things that I've let get behind here. So I'm not sure how much stitching I'm going to get done, but I'm going to try doing a video next weekend. It is actually the weekend after that when I will do the drawing for the sewing bee pattern. So 2 weeks to get a comment in saying sewing on this video. And then I'll definitely be back by then. So everybody have a fantastic week, or 2 weeks as the case may be. And I will talk to you all soon. Thanks for sticking around. Bye.